Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Alpha Art Gallery's Meet the Artist series. My name is Renee Zhang, and I'm here with Kiran Dhaliwal, who is an exhibiting artist for our new oil and mixed media exhibition. Hi, Kiran. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Renee. It's so nice to meet you.
Wonderful. It's nice to meet you too. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What kind of got you interested in art and what ultimately drew you to oil painting?
Well, I think what got me interested in art is what gets everybody interested in art. You have somebody who's supportive when you're young, who tells you, keep doing this because I think we are all born with art, right? We're all born artists. But if you don't get that sort of motivation behind you, you don't do anything to, do anything with it in your life. And I had a big hiatus because I painted when I was young, and then I had about 30 years where I stopped painting. So it was kind of interesting. I came back to it around 2017 because, like everybody else on this planet, we all wear many, many hats. And, I am a mother, I am a daughter, I am a wife. I am an interior designer, so I have my own business. I'm a commercial designer as well. So I've had a career that spanned over 40 years. I've had my passion has always been about women.
Mm.
So I feel that every generation we get a little stronger and we get a little bit better. So I love watching young women and I love seeing the progress from the generations before. So that's just a little bit about me. And art is just, I don't know, somehow it's always been intertwined in my life. It just never leaves me. It's just part of who I am.
You said that you had like a motivator when you were younger. Who was that for you?
My
Oh,
mom,
very sweet.
she was a kindergarten teacher for a long time, and I was who she experimented on to say, "Hey, let's do this and let's try this." And I wonder what would happen if we take tissue paper and put it in this dye, or should we melt a crayon, which they don't do anymore, but it was a lot of fun melting crayons and making, pointillism paintings and all kinds of interesting things. And I just always remember my first paint by number, which was a little ballerina. And I just loved it so much, it just always, it's something. And then when I went back to it, I thought, I think as we journey through our life, it's what are the things that brought us joy? And to me, it was my art always. So I'm like, I am forcing this back into my life. And I did. And I'm so grateful for it.
That is very inspiring. I'm so glad that you had so many artistic influences around you.
Yes, absolutely.
So what is your creative process like? Where do you kind of
Oh,
find
yeah.
inspiration?
Yeah. So I'm a scatterbrain. So I think a lot of artists can, we have that in common. We think about a lot of things. We exhaust our mentally we're always thinking about something. So I don't know. I mean, I'm inspired by nature. I'm inspired, I love looking at the human form and faces. My problem is that I'm really interested in everything. I love the built environment. And I think in my oil paintings, I like oil painting because I I want to bring people to a world that maybe they don't know, or something that is familiar to me that I can sort of share with the people around me. And if I can incorporate all the things I love, which is basically the built environment, the uh, nature, and the human form. I mean, it's like I love it all. It's like, so I'm happiest when I'm painting all three things into one painting. And I usually use I have done a little bit of plein air. I've taken classes at the Visual Arts Center of New Jersey with Valerie Larco, and she is a plein air painter. So I've had a little influence from Valerie, who I just admire because I think being a plein air painter is so difficult. But there are great things that happen because you really see light differently when you're doing that. So for me, I work off of photographs a lot, and not I would say not always do I use just the photograph. A lot of my paintings actually have like humans in it that maybe didn't exist in the photograph, or I will take a built structure from another something that I've seen and taken a photograph of, and I'll put it into that painting just to kind of set the mood for that particular piece. So the creative process is kind of fun. I find that I have a tendency to start a lot of paintings and not finish them because you get all excited about it and then you're like, okay, now I'm done with that, but you're not done with it.
Yeah, I'm sure many artists can relate to that.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're all the same, I swear.
Yes. So you kind of like compositing different source images together for your final composition.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. And sometimes I paint out of my head too. I do that. And not everybody can do that. I have a few artist friends that say, wow, I can't believe that you just made her up. And I'm like, well, it's not that hard. Like to me, it's not that hard. It's like you say, well, somebody should be sitting here, just put her there,
Mhm.
you know, in a painting, because composition is important. When
Yeah.
something is missing in a painting, you got to rethink it.
Yeah, it's all about what feels right for the painting.
Right. And oils are forgiving, like to me, I admire watercolorists because that's not as forgiving.
Mhm.
But for me, I can be painting something and then just say, wow, this just feels weird, like it's just not bringing me into the painting. And then I can just add that element at the end,
Mhm.
and be like, wow, that did it. That made it what I wanted. Right.
Yeah. So a little bit more about your process. How do you typically start a painting? Do you have like a specific, like a sketchbook that you work in, or like something that you do to the canvas first?
Yes, interestingly enough, I don't do a lot of sketching.
Mm,
I have a tendency to just I will make some color prints on my color printer. I use my iPad sometimes,
mhm,
and I will just like hang up the pictures, and then I usually will just do sort of a sketch on the canvas. I
mm,
just sketch directly on the canvas, and I spend a lot of time in the beginning because I want to get my proportion. I've learned this the hard way. I
yeah.
want to get all my proportions right, and I want to feel good about it. So it's generally just, one color. It's, some sort of sienna that's watered down, and I just go ahead and I paint the whole painting. And I work all different sizes. I actually like working large, but
Mm.
I find it, I just end up with a lot of large paintings. So, so then I'm like, okay, now that I've done a really large one, let's do a really small one.
Mhm,
So yeah, so that's kind of how I start. And then it's basically layers because it's oils.
mhm,
And I do some acrylics. I do a little bit of acrylics. I've done some encaustics as well, which
mm,
I love because it's the opposite of oil painting.
mhm,
It's very freeing.
mm,
So, and I hope to someday incorporate, you know, uh, painting, with encaustics and, do some more mixed material
mhm.
things, which I think is where I'm headed.
That's wonderful. I'm sure we're all very excited to see that from you.
I'm excited too. Let's hope it happens.
Yes.
2025.
Yeah. Future goals.
Yes.
Let's get into a little bit about the series that you were showing at our gallery. So, your series Imprints of India shows a lot of scenes of everyday life in rural India, which I'm guessing is like a very different culture from that of like the United States, right? So, what kind of draws you to this subject matter?
Well, I think as especially after going through, COVID, the whole world has experienced something that's similar, right? So, and with technology, I feel the world has gotten very, small. And when I was growing up, it was, if I would meet somebody from a different country, I actually did an exchange program in the 70s when nobody was doing them in England. But, I've lost touch with most of the people that I knew back then because, you would write airmail letters. And I feel like because the world has gotten so small and we are also interconnected, and young people especially have friends all over the world. I mean, it's very typical. And it got me thinking that it's really important that we embrace all cultures,
Mm,
and we try to be one because that's what's going to save all of us. So all I can do for that is share who I am and what I know. And you can tell from my accent, I came here quite young,
mm,
and I got to experience the Queen Mary, which was pretty exciting as a child.
mhm,
So, we landed in New Jersey. My parents were like 30 years old, and we came to New Jersey. We went back to India. We came back, And I think every time, especially when you're growing up, you're embracing, you're seeing things with fresh eyes. And all the years growing up till, my husband is Indian and I go back to India now. And it's just interesting to me to see, the everyday life there is so different than here. For rural India, I'm not talking about the cities. It's all the same in the cities. It's like I said, we're all becoming one. So it's all the same in the cities. But in rural India, it's just like it's like a pocket which is still alive. And I don't know, I just feel like it needs to be shared that wow, like take a deep breath. There is a simpler life. People are extremely happy in this simple life as long as things are not, coming at them.
Mm,
So I just wanted to share it. My father came from this village in northern India, Seda Singwala, and in 2019 was the last time I went back to visit it with him. And I took a lot of photographs during that time, and I think a lot of that is what you're seeing. And also, my husband went to school in northern India, and to a boarding school, and I went to his reunion. And during that journey, I took a lot of photographs through Rajasthan and just some interesting places. And he would say, "What are you taking pictures of?" I'm like, "What is so interesting?" Like
mm,
to me, the mundane, the everyday things are interesting. I think that there's some beauty in it that that gets lost. And sometimes if you can freeze that frame, and you can come back and have the time and just the wherewithal to go through all your pictures, you'll see some. You'll say, "Wow, this color is amazing. This composition is so interesting. I could take this and put this into this, and oh my God, it brings it to today." Like I have that one painting, my Rajasthan village, and it was, there's a beautiful blue wall, and I was taken by the fact that this beautiful tree was growing out of this decrepit wall while this man is doing construction in like a kind of a archaic way, we would think, and it's just, and a woman is walking by and she's got a mask in her hand,
mhm,
and she's carrying laundry because she's looking at these guys like, and I feel like, it's telling a story,
mhm,
and we want to tell a story because I think all artists, it's one way of recording history.
mhm.
It's right.
Really,
So
yeah.
yeah, and
It's
I
really
and
cool.
I'm very aware of that. My daughter's a journalist. So it's like, it's just something in me always that we should show people how people live and
Mm.
what they do.
It's very beautiful, like appreciating the mundane and the daily life.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of brings me to our next question, which is what elements of daily life from your hometown do you kind of wish to highlight in your pieces? I think you mentioned a couple things already, but also is there anything that has maybe a deeper meaning, or are there any like customs or traditions that we might not understand at first glance through your paintings?
Yeah, so I did this one painting, which is also a large one. I don't know which ones are going to be in the show yet, but I also love that painting. It's I call it Indian Bride,
Hmm.
but it happens to be the painting I did is in a bathroom in New Jersey, and it's really to show that I mean, the whole concept of Indian bride has changed, in the old days, and still in some societies, you don't really know your suitor till you are getting married, right?
Hmm.
But that painting happens to be of my daughter, but I really didn't, it doesn't look entirely like her. And I did that on purpose to show the many faces of, that the reflection of a bride is different than the bride itself. And, you might be scared in yourself, but somehow the reflection may not show that. And she married, an American dude, here, from Texas, but who we love so much. But the point is that it was, to me, it was like she wanted to do the traditional. She's wearing jewelry that belonged to her great grandmother in
Oh,
this.
that's very sweet.
Yeah, and I, highlighted that in the piece, and the red, because in Indian weddings, you get married in red. There's no white. White is for birth and death, like it's not about, red is for marriage in the Indian culture.